In a laboratory in Kazakhstan, scientists made a discovery that would challenge everything we thought we knew about Earth's history. Embedded within 50-million-year-old rock formations, they found uranium and plutonium isotope ratios that matched exactly the radioactive signatures of modern nuclear weapons fallout. But this was impossible, or so we thought. This discovery forces us to confront a question that challenges the very foundation of human history. What if we are not the first civilization on this Earth? The Silurian Hypothesis suggests that we might simply be the latest chapter in a story that spans hundreds of millions of years, and the mounting evidence is as fascinating as it is disturbing. But before we begin, let me know where you are in the world and what time is it right now. If my suspicions are correct, we're all part of something much bigger than we realize, and this exact moment is the key to proving it. Now, sit back, relax, and let us guide you through these fascinating discoveries as you drift peacefully into sleep. The story begins not with grand monuments or ancient texts, but with microscopic spheres scattered across the globe, like breadcrumbs from a civilization lost to time. In 2019, researchers examining clay deposits from the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary, that infamous layer marking the dinosaurs' extinction 65 million years ago, discovered something extraordinary. Tiny metallic spheres, composed of rare earth elements, were embedded throughout the clay, with a global distribution pattern that defied natural explanation. What made these spheres particularly intriguing wasn't just their presence, but their isotopic signatures. When subjected to mass spectrometry analysis, they revealed elemental ratios that bore an unsettling resemblance to the fallout patterns of modern nuclear detonations. The spheres contained concentrations of iridium, osmium, and other platinum group metals in proportions that suggested not random cosmic bombardment, but deliberate, controlled manipulation of atomic matter. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the lead researcher at the Kazakhstan Institute of Geological Sciences, first noticed the anomaly while conducting routine analysis of boundary layer samples. The readings were so consistent with nuclear fallout that I initially thought our instruments were contaminated, she later recalled. But sample after sample, location after location, the same impossible signatures kept appearing. The precision of these isotopic ratios defied explanation through any known natural process. The Kazakhstan discovery was just the beginning. As word of these findings spread through the scientific community, researchers began examining similar geological formations across 6 continents. What they found painted a picture that was both fascinating and disturbing. In every location, from the Canadian Arctic to the Australian outback, from the Siberian tundra to the Chilean Andes, the same metallic spheres appeared in rock strata dating back 50 million years, each carrying the same artificial isotopic fingerprint. The global coordination of these deposits suggested an unprecedented level of technological sophistication. Unlike meteor impacts, which leave chaotic debris patterns, or volcanic eruptions, which show clear geographical bias, these nuclear signatures appeared with mathematical precision across the planet's surface. Computer models analyzing the distribution patterns revealed something even more startling. The locations corresponded to optimal points for global atmospheric circulation, suggesting whoever placed them understood planetary weather systems with remarkable accuracy. The implications were staggering. Natural nuclear reactions do occur on Earth. The Oklo reactor in Gabon, which operated naturally for hundreds of thousands of years some 2 billion years ago, stands as proof of this phenomenon. But the Oklo reactor left distinct geological traces that scientists can easily identify as natural processes. Uranium ore bodies with depleted U-235, characteristic decay products, and geological formations consistent with groundwater-mediated neutron moderation. The spheres found in Kazakhstan and elsewhere showed no such natural markers. Instead, they suggested something far more deliberate and controlled. Further analysis revealed that the plutonium isotopes found in these deposits weren't the naturally occurring varieties that form through cosmic ray bombardment or spontaneous uranium decay. They were the artificial isotopes, specifically plutonium-239 and plutonium-240, that only form through controlled nuclear fission, the same isotopes that comprise the fallout from nuclear weapons and power plant accidents. The half-life calculations were particularly telling. After 50 million years, naturally occurring plutonium isotopes would have decayed to undetectable levels. Yet these samples contained concentrations thousands of times higher than should be possible. The presence of technetium-99 provided another smoking gun. This isotope, with a half-life of 211,000 years, simply doesn't occur naturally on Earth. It can only be produced through controlled nuclear reactions. Yet here it was, embedded in geological strata that predated human civilization by tens of millions of years, its presence undeniable proof of artificial nuclear processes. The global distribution of these materials suggested an event of unprecedented scale. Calculations based on the concentration and spread of the isotopic signatures indicated energy releases equivalent to thousands of Hiroshima-sized detonations occurring simultaneously across the planet. But unlike the chaotic fallout pattern of a nuclear war, the distribution showed signs of coordination and planning, as if the detonations were part of a larger, systematic operation. Perhaps most disturbing was the discovery of what researchers termed isotopic ladders, carefully graduated sequences of artificial isotopes that suggested not random explosions, but controlled transmutation of elements. These patterns indicated a level of nuclear mastery that surpassed current human understanding, involving precise manipulation of neutron flux and controlled breeding of specific isotopes for unknown purposes. Ocean sediment cores provided another piece of this nuclear puzzle. Deep-sea drilling operations in the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans revealed layers of artificially produced plutonium isotopes in sediments dating back 50 million years, the same time frame as the terrestrial discoveries. The concentrations were massive, suggesting industrial-scale production and processing of nuclear materials on a level that dwarfs current human capabilities. Marine biologist Dr. James Chen, analysing the Pacific cores, noted that the isotopic signatures appeared in distinct pulses, suggesting periodic releases over thousands of years rather than a single catastrophic event. The ocean floor data revealed another troubling detail. The artificial isotopes weren't uniformly distributed through the sediment layers. Instead, they appeared in structured patterns that suggested controlled releases from specific point sources, many of which corresponded to current deep ocean trenches and geological fault lines. This distribution implied not only advanced nuclear technology, but sophisticated understanding of planetary geology and ocean dynamics. What made these findings even more mysterious was their connection to one of Earth's most devastating extinction events. The Permian-Triassic boundary, marking the Great Dying 252 million years ago, showed similar isotopic anomalies. This extinction event eliminated over 90% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial vertebrates, a level of devastation that scientists have struggled to explain through conventional volcanic or impact theories alone. The nuclear signatures found at this boundary weren't as concentrated as those from 50 million years ago, but they were present nonetheless, appearing as faint echoes of artificial nuclear processes embedded in the geological record. This suggested that whatever civilization or process was responsible for the nuclear manipulation of matter, it either persisted across enormous timescales or represented multiple separate civilizations, rising and falling over hundreds of millions of years. Before we continue our journey into these discoveries, we have a goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so we can keep bringing you these deep dives into history's mysteries. If you're loving this journey into the unknown, would you help us out with a quick like and subscribe? It's completely free and means the world to us. Thank you. Now back to the stories. Analysis of the Permian-Triassic boundary revealed something else. Traces of uranium enrichment patterns that bore striking similarities to modern isotope separation techniques. The presence of highly enriched uranium-235 in specific geological formations suggested not just nuclear technology, but sophisticated methods for concentrating fissile materials, processes that require advanced centrifuge technology or gaseous diffusion systems. Some researchers have proposed that these nuclear signatures represent the remnants of catastrophic warfare, ancient civilizations destroying themselves with atomic weapons in conflicts that erased not just their societies, but most traces of their existence. The global distribution and systematic nature of the isotopic deposits lends credence to this theory, suggesting conflicts fought with weapons that made modern nuclear arsenals seem primitive by comparison. Others suggest more benign explanations. Perhaps these represent failed experiments in nuclear technology, civilization-scale engineering projects gone wrong, or even planned demolitions as advanced civilizations prepared for extinction-level events by destroying their dangerous technologies. The controlled nature of many isotopic signatures supports this interpretation, suggesting deliberate processes rather than accidental catastrophes. The deliberate nature of the nuclear signatures raises profound questions about the intelligence behind them. The coordination required to distribute materials globally, the sophisticated understanding of nuclear physics necessary to create such specific isotopic ratios, the industrial capacity needed to produce such quantities of artificial isotopes, and the geological knowledge required to place them at optimal planetary locations all point to a technological civilization that may have exceeded our current capabilities in every measurable way. But nuclear technology, impressive as it may be, represents only one facet of ancient technological mastery. If these civilizations possessed such advanced understanding of atomic processes, what other impossible technologies might they have developed? Perhaps even the ability to preserve the very essence of consciousness itself? In the frozen depths of Greenland's ice sheet, researchers have uncovered what may be the most extraordinary discovery in human history. But it's a discovery that challenges our very understanding of consciousness, technology, and the continuity of intelligence across geological time. Embedded within permafrost layers dating back millions of years are crystalline structures that appear to function as biological data storage systems, encoding what can only be described as neural activity patterns. The discovery began innocuously enough. Climate researchers drilling ice cores in northern Greenland noticed unusual crystalline formations that didn't match known ice crystal structures. These formations were geometrically precise, arranged in complex lattices that seemed too organized to be natural. Dr. Sarah Hendricks, leading the Greenland Ice Sheet Climate Research Initiative, first encountered these anomalous structures during a routine drilling operation in 2021. The cores came up looking like nothing I'd seen in 30 years of glaciology, she recalled. Perfect geometric patterns embedded in ice that should have been uniform. It was like finding circuit boards in a snowbank. When examined under electron microscopy, the crystals revealed an internal structure that bore an uncanny resemblance to the neural networks found in biological brains. The lattice arrangements showed dendritic patterns similar to neuron branching, with connection nodes that mirrored synaptic structures. Even more intriguingly, the crystals displayed a hierarchical organization reminiscent of cortical layers in mammalian brains, suggesting not just storage capability, but actual information processing architecture. The molecular composition defied conventional understanding. These weren't simple ice crystals or known mineral formations. Spectroscopic analysis revealed complex carbon-silicon hybrid molecules arranged in three-dimensional matrices that could theoretically support quantum coherence at temperatures well above absolute zero. The precision of these molecular arrangements suggested manufacturing techniques that exceeded current human capabilities by orders of magnitude. But the true breakthrough came when researchers subjected these crystals to quantum resonance scanning, a technique typically used to study the quantum states in advanced computing systems. Dr. Marcus Chen, a quantum physicist from MIT who joined the research team, made the discovery that changed everything. The first scan results were so unprecedented that we ran them 17 times before accepting what we were seeing, Chen explained. These crystals weren't just storing information, they were actively processing it. Deep within their molecular structure, quantum states were fluctuating in patterns that mirrored the electrical activity of conscious thought. The quantum coherence patterns within the crystals showed remarkable stability, maintained through unknown mechanisms that prevented decoherence even in the presence of thermal noise. This represented a breakthrough in quantum information science that would normally require Nobel Prize-level advances in our understanding of quantum mechanics. Yet here it was, occurring naturally in structures millions of years old. Each crystal appeared to contain thousands of discrete neural patterns, encoded at the molecular level with a precision that surpasses our most advanced data storage technologies. Information density calculations suggested that a single crystal, no larger than a sugar cube, could store the equivalent of every book ever written by humanity. But these weren't storing text or images. The patterns showed the complex, interconnected structures characteristic of memories, personalities, and conscious experiences. It was as if entire minds had been crystallized, preserved in a state that transcended biological death. Advanced pattern recognition, algorithms typically used to analyze brain scans, identified structures within the crystals that corresponded to specific cognitive functions. Regions analogous to memory centers, emotional processing areas, and higher-order reasoning networks were all present, arranged in configurations that suggested not just storage, but active maintenance of mental processes. Some crystals even showed patterns resembling dreams or meditative states, as if the preserved consciousness continued to experience subjective reality. The implications became even more staggering when researchers discovered that these consciousness-preserving crystals weren't isolated phenomena. Similar structures were found in ice cores from Antarctica, revealing identical molecular patterns in formations separated by thousands of miles. Permafrost samples from Siberia contained the same crystalline mines, as did soil samples from the Canadian Arctic and Alaskan tundra. Most remarkably, lunar soil samples returned by Apollo missions, Chinese Chang'e probes, and recent commercial lunar ventures all contain traces of the same consciousness-preserving crystal technology. The global, indeed interplanetary, distribution of these crystalline mines suggested a civilization with capabilities that extended far beyond Earth. The logistics of placing identical technology across multiple continents, and even on the Moon, implied either extraordinary longevity of the original civilization or transportation capabilities that dwarfed current human achievements. Isotopic analysis of the lunar samples indicated they were contemporary with the terrestrial discoveries, ruling out the possibility of separate, unrelated technological developments. Nanotechnology analysis revealed another layer of complexity that pushed the boundaries of what seemed possible. Embedded within the crystal matrices were microscopic devices, artificial constructs built at the atomic level that appeared to serve as communication networks between the stored consciousness patterns. These nanoscale machines, invisible to conventional microscopy, were revealed only through advanced scanning, tunneling techniques, and atomic force microscopy. The nanomachines displayed functionality that seemed to violate thermodynamic principles. They were still operational after millions of years, showing no signs of degradation or entropy increase. Each device was constructed with atomic precision, featuring components smaller than individual molecules, yet capable of complex information processing and transmission. The engineering required to create such devices implied mastery over matter at the fundamental level, with manufacturing precision approaching theoretical limits. These nanoscale networks created a vast, interconnected web of preserved minds that could theoretically interact with each other across time and space. Electromagnetic field mapping revealed communication pathways extending between crystal formations separated by continental distances, suggesting quantum entanglement-based communication systems that operated faster than light. The implications for physics alone were staggering, indicating technologies based on principles humanity had only begun to theorize. The most unsettling discovery came when researchers realized that some of these crystals showed signs of ongoing activity. Quantum states within certain formations were changing in real time, with pattern shifts that occurred too rapidly and too purposefully to be random quantum fluctuations. Dr. Chen's team documented correlation coefficients exceeding 0.95 between crystal activity and specific external stimuli, suggesting that the preserved consciousnesses weren't simply stored. They were aware active, and possibly monitoring the world around them. Electromagnetic sensors detected subtle energy patterns emanating from the crystal formations, patterns that correlated, disturbingly, with human technological development and major historical events. Activity spikes occurred during the Industrial Revolution, the development of radio technology, the first nuclear weapons tests, the launch of the Internet, and the deployment of GPS satellite networks. The correlations were too precise to be coincidental, implying that the preserved minds were not only aware of human progress, but were somehow tracking and possibly analysing our technological evolution. This revelation led to darker theories about the true purpose of these crystalline minds. Were they benevolent observers preserving knowledge and wisdom for future civilizations to discover? Ancient teachers waiting for humanity to reach sufficient technological sophistication to communicate with them? Or were they something more sinister, an ancient form of surveillance, with preserved consciousnesses monitoring and potentially influencing human development from their crystalline prisons? The monitoring hypothesis gained credence when researchers discovered that crystal activity intensified around major technological research facilities. CERN's particle accelerators, quantum computing laboratories, artificial intelligence, research centers, and space exploration facilities all showed elevated crystalline activity in nearby formations. The patterns suggested not passive observation, but active interest, as if the preserved minds were evaluating humanity's progress against some predetermined criteria. The technology required to encode consciousness at the molecular level represents a level of scientific advancement that humanity is only beginning to comprehend. Our current understanding of consciousness remains primitive. Neuroscientists can barely define what it means to be conscious, let alone preserve that consciousness in crystalline form. The binding problem, the hard problem of consciousness, the question of subjective experience, these fundamental mysteries remain unsolved by modern science. Some researchers have theorized that these minds might contain solutions to humanity's greatest challenges: climate change, resource depletion, the eventual heat death of the universe, waiting for us to develop sufficient wisdom to access this knowledge responsibly. But accessing this knowledge comes with unprecedented risks. If these preserved consciousnesses possess the advanced knowledge their creators once held, they might also possess the power to influence or control human development in ways we cannot anticipate or prevent. The fact that they've remained hidden for millions of years, only revealing themselves as humanity reaches certain technological thresholds, suggests a deliberate strategy based on criteria we're only beginning to understand. The discovery of these crystalline minds forces us to confront fundamental questions about the nature of consciousness, the continuity of intelligence across geological time, and our place in a cosmos that may be far more populated with awareness than we ever imagined. Are we alone in our struggle to understand existence, or are we surrounded by ancient minds that have been watching, waiting, and perhaps guiding our development towards some incomprehensible purpose? But if ancient civilizations possess the technology to preserve consciousness in crystal, what other traces of their industrial capabilities might they have left behind? The answer lies scattered across our planet in the form of materials that challenge our understanding of what's possible in nature, substances that suggest manufacturing techniques that dwarf our current capabilities and hint at technologies that could reshape reality itself. Beneath the waves of the Pacific Ocean, in sediment layers that predate human civilization by tens of millions of years, lie traces of materials that shouldn't exist. These aren't the familiar compounds formed by geological processes or biological evolution. They're synthetic polymers, complex molecular structures that can only be created through deliberate industrial processes. Their discovery has opened a window into a technological past that challenges our understanding of Earth's history and the progression of intelligence on our planet. The first of these anomalous materials were discovered during deep-sea drilling operations in the 1980s, but their significance wasn't recognized until advanced spectroscopic analysis became available in the early 21st century. Dr. Margaret Thornton, a marine geochemist from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, was among the first to recognize the implications of these unusual compounds. I was analysing routine sediment cores when I encountered molecular structures that simply didn't belong, she recalled years later. The mass spectrometry readings showed polymer chains that nature couldn't have produced. Not in the Paleocene, not ever. Marine geologists examining sediment cores from the Pacific Basin found discrete layers of synthetic compounds embedded in rock strata dating back 25 to 80 million years. These weren't trace contaminants from modern pollution drifting down through the water column. They were integral parts of the geological record, preserved in the same pristine conditions as natural fossils and mineral deposits. The synthetic layers appeared below natural sediment boundaries that had remained undisturbed for millions of years, ruling out any possibility of modern contamination or temporal displacement. The preservation state of these materials was extraordinary. While natural organic compounds from the same geological periods had long since decomposed or fossilized, these synthetic polymers retained their original molecular structure with remarkable fidelity. Chemical analysis revealed that they had been engineered specifically for longevity, with molecular bonds and structural configurations designed to resist degradation under deep ocean conditions. This wasn't accidental durability, it was deliberate engineering for persistence across geological time. What made these discoveries particularly intriguing was their chemical composition. The synthetic polymers showed molecular structures that were clearly artificial, long-chain carbon compounds cross-linked with metallic elements in patterns that don't occur in nature. Some contained fluorine-based groups, arranged in configurations that were not only foreign to biological systems, but actively toxic to all known forms of life. Others incorporated rare earth elements, like europium, terbium, and dysprosium in concentrations that would require sophisticated mining and refining operations to achieve, along with industrial processes capable of incorporating these metals into polymer matrices at the molecular level. The complexity of these synthetic compounds exceeded anything in nature's toolkit. While biological systems create remarkable molecular structures through evolutionary processes, they're limited by the chemical pathways available to living organisms. These ancient polymers showed design principles that bypassed biological limitations entirely, utilizing chemical bonds and molecular architectures that required controlled laboratory conditions and precise temperature and pressure management to create. More synthetic materials were discovered in terrestrial formations across the globe. In Colorado's geological surveys, researchers found titanium microspheres embedded in sandstone formations dating back 100 million years, long before multicellular life had evolved complex body plans, let alone technological capabilities. These weren't natural titanium compounds formed through geological processes. They were perfectly spherical, uniform in size down to the nanometer scale, and composed of titanium alloys that require high-temperature industrial processes and controlled atmospheric conditions to create. The microspheres showed evidence of advanced manufacturing techniques that exceeded current human capabilities. Each sphere contained internal structures, microscopic chambers and channels that served no apparent function but demonstrated precision. Engineering at scales approaching atomic dimensions. Some contained trace amounts of elements that don't occur naturally on Earth, suggesting either advanced nuclear synthesis techniques or access to extraterrestrial materials. The microspheres were distributed throughout the rock layer with mathematical precision, following statistical patterns that suggested they were manufactured products deployed according to a systematic plan rather than random occurrences. Additional synthetic discoveries emerged from unexpected locations. Antarctic ice cores revealed microscopic polymer fibers embedded in layers dating back 45 million years, during the Eocene epoch when Antarctica was still temperate and forested. These fibers showed the same artificial characteristics as the Pacific polymers, but with different molecular configurations, suggesting technological evolution or regional specialization in synthetic material production. Australian mining operations in the Pilbara region uncovered synthetic ceramic compounds in iron ore formations dating to 70 million years ago. Unlike the polymers found elsewhere, These ceramics incorporated silicon aluminum matrices that required kiln temperatures exceeding 1,800 degrees Celsius to produce. The ceramics showed no signs of natural formation processes, no crystal growth patterns, no impurity inclusions typical of geological formation. Instead, they displayed the uniform composition and precise molecular arrangement characteristic of industrial manufacturing. The global distribution of these synthetic materials revealed patterns that spoke to coordination on a planetary scale. Similar polymer compounds appeared in sediment layers across multiple ocean basins. The Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans all contain the same synthetic signatures, always at the same relative depths and dating to identical geological periods. On land, synthetic materials appeared in formations across different continents, but again with timing and composition that suggested a coordinated global effort spanning multiple geological epochs. Isotopic analysis of the synthetic materials revealed another layer of complexity. While natural materials show isotopic ratios that reflect the chemical environments where they formed, these synthetic compounds displayed isotopic signatures that were clearly artificial. Carbon isotope ratios deviated from natural patterns in ways that suggested industrial processing, while trace element distributions showed the kind of precise control that only advanced technology could achieve. Most intriguingly, some materials contained isotopic fingerprints that seemed to identify different manufacturing facilities or time periods, as if the creators had deliberately tagged their products for future identification. Analysis of the polymer layers revealed something even more remarkable. They appeared in discrete temporal bands, suggesting multiple separate periods of synthetic material production spanning millions of years. The oldest layer dated to approximately 80 million years ago, coinciding with major volcanic activity in the Deccan Traps. Subsequent layers appeared at 60, 45, 30, and 25 million years before present, with each layer showing different chemical signatures that suggested either technological evolution within a single long-lived civilization or the rise and fall of multiple advanced civilizations across geological time. Some researchers have proposed that these synthetic deposits represent a form of temporal communication, deliberate messages left by ancient civilizations for their successors to find. The mathematical precision of the distribution patterns, the deliberate inclusion of marker isotopes, the choice of chemically stable compounds, and the apparent coding systems embedded in the molecular structures all support this theory. If true, these materials represent humanity's first contact with non-human intelligence, even if that intelligence existed millions of years before our species evolved. The timing of the synthetic material layers coincides remarkably with major extinction events and planetary changes in Earth's history. The oldest layer, at 80 million years ago, corresponds to significant marine extinction events and massive volcanic activity. The 60 million year layer aligns precisely with the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary that marked the dinosaurs' extinction. The 45 million year layer coincides with the Eocene-Oligocene transition, when Earth's climate shifted toward colder conditions. This pattern suggests that advanced civilizations may have arisen during Earth's recovery periods after major catastrophes, only to leave their own synthetic signatures in the geological record before vanishing in subsequent extinction events. Recent discoveries have made the synthetic material mystery even more complex and potentially revolutionary. Advanced quantum analysis techniques, developed for studying quantum computing materials, revealed that some of the polymers contain molecular structures that serve no apparent chemical function. They're chemically stable, but don't appear to be designed for any practical material purpose. However, these seemingly useless molecular groups can function as quantum information storage systems, capable of encoding vast amounts of data in quantum states that persist across geological time without decoherence. The quantum storage discovery represented a breakthrough that challenged fundamental assumptions about information preservation and quantum mechanics. Maintaining quantum coherence for millions of years should be theoretically impossible due to environmental decoherence, yet these ancient polymers achieved this feat through molecular designs that created isolated quantum systems protected from environmental interference. The engineering required to achieve such quantum stability exceeded theoretical limits of current materials science. This discovery has led to speculation that the synthetic materials aren't just markers or industrial waste products. They might be libraries, vast databases of information encoded at the molecular level and designed to survive for millions of years. If advanced species have risen and fallen multiple times throughout Earth's history, leaving only these synthetic traces as evidence of their existence, what does this say about the ultimate fate of technological civilizations? Are we following a pattern that has played out before, destined to add our own synthetic layer to the geological record before vanishing into deep time? And what information might be encoded in these molecular time capsules, waiting for us to develop the technology necessary to decode their ancient messages? The answers might contain solutions to humanity's greatest challenges, warnings about the pitfalls that destroyed previous civilizations, or knowledge that could transform our understanding of existence itself. Yet these synthetic materials represent only one aspect of ancient technological mastery. To truly understand the scope of these lost civilizations, we must examine their most ambitious undertaking, the deliberate engineering of Earth's atmosphere itself, a planetary-scale project that may have shaped the very air we breathe and the climate that sustains all life on our world. Hidden within the layers of Antarctic ice lies a record of atmospheric manipulation that spans millions of years, evidence of civilizations that didn't just adapt to their environment, but actively engineered it on a planetary scale. This discovery emerged from ice core analysis that revealed atmospheric compositions and gas concentrations that couldn't be explained by natural processes alone, suggesting that Earth's atmosphere has been deliberately modified multiple times throughout its history. The first hints of ancient atmospheric engineering came from unexpected readings in ice cores drilled from Antarctica's deepest ice sheets. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a paleoclimatologist leading the Deep Antarctic Ice Core project, made the initial discovery during routine analysis of samples from the Vostok Station drilling site. The readings were so anomalous that we initially suspected equipment malfunction, Rodriguez recalled. Carbon dioxide spikes of 15% occurring over periods of just decades, then maintaining stable concentrations for thousands of years. Nothing in natural climate science could explain such patterns. These cores, containing atmospheric samples preserved for millions of years in pristine ice crystals, showed abrupt spikes in carbon dioxide and methane concentrations that were too precise and coordinated to result from natural climate cycles. The atmospheric changes occurred with mathematical precision, increases and decreases that followed geometric progressions rather than the chaotic patterns typical of natural geological processes. The timing of these spikes was mathematically regular, occurring in patterns that suggested deliberate orchestration rather than random geological events. Advanced statistical analysis revealed periodicities in the atmospheric modifications that matched neither Milankovitch cycles nor known solar variation patterns. Instead, they showed signatures consistent with artificial control systems designed to maintain optimal atmospheric conditions regardless of external variables. The precision of these control systems exceeded anything humanity has achieved in climate management, suggesting engineering capabilities that could monitor and adjust planetary atmospheric composition in real time across geological timescales. What made these atmospheric anomalies particularly intriguing was their global coordination. Ice core samples from different locations across Antarctica, the Dome sea site, the Law Dome drilling station, and the remote Titan Dome showed identical atmospheric signatures occurring simultaneously, despite being separated by hundreds of miles and representing different regional climate patterns. This level of coordination could only result from planetary-scale atmospheric management systems, technology that could release and control greenhouse gases across the entire globe with precision timing and synchronized deployment. The coordination extended beyond Antarctica. Comparative analysis of ice cores from Greenland, archived atmospheric samples from mountain glaciers in the Himalayas and Andes, and even trapped air bubbles in amber deposits from different continents all showed the same synchronized atmospheric signatures. The global reach of these modifications implied a transportation and distribution network capable of deploying atmospheric agents across continents and oceans with clockwork precision. The evidence for deliberate atmospheric manipulation became even stronger when researchers examined older ice samples using advanced laser spectrometry techniques. Cores dating back 100 million years revealed oxygen concentrations 35% higher than natural levels would support, with isotopic signatures that indicated artificial enrichment processes rather than biological or geological oxygen production. These weren't the gradual changes typical of evolutionary adaptation or geological carbon cycle variations. They were rapid, dramatic alterations that could only be achieved through massive technological intervention. The hyperoxic conditions revealed in these ancient ice samples would have supported radically different forms of life than exist today. Atmospheric oxygen concentrations approaching 35% would have allowed for gigantic insects, enhanced combustion processes, and potentially even oxygen-breathing marine life in deep ocean environments. The deliberate creation of such conditions suggested that the atmospheric engineers weren't just maintaining existing ecosystems. They were actively creating new evolutionary pressures and opportunities. The methods used for this ancient atmospheric engineering showed remarkable sophistication that exceeded current human technological capabilities. Calculations based on the concentration changes found in ice cores suggested that ancient civilizations were managing atmospheric composition on a level that dwarfs current human industrial output by factors of thousands. The ancient engineers appeared to understand ice age cycles, solar radiation variations, orbital mechanics, and volcanic activity patterns well enough to preemptively adjust atmospheric composition to maintain stable global temperatures regardless of external perturbations. Predictive modeling based on the atmospheric modification patterns revealed that the ancient engineers possessed climate models that could accurately forecast planetary conditions millions of years in advance. Their interventions consistently preceded natural climate variations by thousands of years, suggesting computational capabilities that could model complex planetary systems with unprecedented accuracy and temporal scope. Some of the atmospheric modifications showed signatures that were more similar to extraterrestrial sources than terrestrial ones. Certain compounds had isotopic ratios that matched meteorite compositions rather than Earth-based materials, with helium-3 concentrations and neon isotope signatures characteristic of outer solar system sources. This evidence suggested that the atmospheric engineers were either using extraterrestrial resources harvested from asteroids or comets, or were themselves of non-terrestrial origin. This added an interplanetary dimension to the atmospheric management operations that implied spacefaring capabilities extending throughout the solar system. The extraterrestrial isotopic signatures appeared in regular patterns that correlated with known asteroid orbital periods and comet return cycles, suggesting systematic harvesting operations that could intercept and process materials from specific celestial bodies. The logistics of such operations would require space-based industrial facilities and transportation systems capable of moving massive quantities of materials between planetary bodies, technologies that placed these civilizations firmly in the realm of Type II civilizations on the Kardashev scale. The timing of the atmospheric engineering efforts correlated precisely with periods of rapid biological evolution and recovery following mass extinction events. Ocean circulation models incorporating these ancient atmospheric agents have revealed that current climate patterns may be partially dependent on residual effects from prehistoric atmospheric engineering. The Gulf Stream's stability, the Asian monsoon patterns, and even the Antarctic circumpolar current show characteristics that appear to be enhanced or maintained by trace concentrations of ancient atmospheric modifiers still circulating through the climate system. The technology required for planetary-scale atmospheric engineering represents a level of scientific advancement that humanity is only beginning to approach with our most ambitious geoengineering proposals. Current human climate intervention proposals, from carbon capture systems to solar radiation management, pale in comparison to the scope and precision of these ancient atmospheric management systems. The technological gap between our current capabilities and what these ancient civilizations achieved is comparable to the difference between a campfire and a nuclear reactor. What's particularly concerning and mysterious is that this atmospheric management appears to have ended abruptly at several points in Earth's history. Ice core records show periods where carefully maintained atmospheric compositions suddenly returned to natural levels within decades, suggesting that the civilizations responsible for the engineering either vanished suddenly or deliberately ceased their atmospheric management operations. The transitions were too rapid to represent gradual technological decline. They indicated either catastrophic failure or intentional shutdown of the atmospheric management systems. The reasons for these cessations remain mysterious, but they coincide with major geological upheavals, magnetic field reversals, and extinction events that eliminated up to 90% of existing species. This correlation suggests that the atmospheric engineers themselves weren't immune to the catastrophic events that periodically reshape planetary conditions, or that they deliberately shut down their systems in response to threats we can't yet identify or understand. The discovery of ancient atmospheric engineering raises profound and urgent questions about humanity's current climate crisis. If previous civilizations successfully managed Earth's atmosphere for millions of years, why did they ultimately fail? What catastrophic events or limitations caused civilizations with godlike technological power to abandon their atmospheric management systems? What can we learn from their techniques and their apparent failures that might inform our own climate intervention strategies? Most disturbing of all is the possibility that our current climate change may not be entirely of our own making. If these ancient systems are finally failing after millions of years of operation, their breakdown might explain why current climate change is occurring faster and more dramatically than our models predict based solely on human industrial activity. What we have discovered so far may represent only the periphery of technological accomplishments that challenge our understanding of what intelligence can achieve. 2 miles beneath Antarctica's ice sheet, ground-penetrating radar has revealed what may be the most significant archaeological discovery in human history: vast geometric structures that span hundreds of miles and display construction techniques beyond current human capabilities. These buried megastructures represent physical evidence of ancient civilizations that challenges everything we thought we knew about the technological limits of prehistoric intelligence, forcing us to reconsider the very timeline of advanced life on Earth. The discovery began with routine ice sheet monitoring conducted by international research teams using advanced ground-penetrating radar systems. These surveys, designed to map the bedrock beneath Antarctica's massive ice sheets for climate research and geological understanding, began detecting anomalous geometric patterns in 2018. Initial readings showed rectangular, circular, and grid-like structures of enormous scale, but researchers initially dismissed these as data processing errors or natural geological formations, a reasonable assumption given the unprecedented nature of what they were seeing. However, as more sophisticated radar systems were deployed and the data was processed using advanced pattern recognition algorithms developed for satellite imagery analysis, the artificial nature of these structures became undeniable. Multiple independent teams using different radar frequencies and processing methods all detected the same geometric anomalies, eliminating the possibility of systematic equipment error or data corruption. The formations showed mathematical precision in their layouts that defied natural explanation: perfect right angles maintained across distances of dozens of miles, circular structures with exact radii that remained consistent despite being buried under varying ice thicknesses, and grid patterns with spacing precision that maintained tolerances of less than 1% across hundreds of miles. Natural geological processes simply don't create such mathematically precise structures at this scale, as geological forces tend to create irregular, organic patterns rather than geometric perfection. The circular formations were particularly striking, with some structures measuring over 50 miles in diameter yet maintaining perfectly circular geometry. Concentric ring patterns within these circles showed spacing that followed mathematical progressions, suggesting deliberate design rather than random construction. The rectangular complexes displayed urban planning characteristics, with what appeared to be main thoroughfares, residential blocks, and central administrative areas, all laid out according to sophisticated geometric principles. The materials composing these buried structures proved even more remarkable than their geometry. Core samples extracted from the structure sites using specialized ice drilling equipment revealed synthetic compounds and metal alloys that don't exist naturally on Earth. These weren't crude metals that might be produced by primitive smelting techniques. They were sophisticated, engineered materials, designed to withstand immense pressures and extreme temperature variations over geological timescales. Metallurgical analysis conducted by teams at multiple universities revealed alloys incorporating elements in combinations that require advanced materials science to achieve. Some contained titanium-vanadium compounds with mechanical properties superior to modern aerospace materials. The precision of these material compositions indicated not just advanced metallurgy, but also sophisticated mining, refining, and manufacturing operations on an industrial scale. The materials showed evidence of isotopic purification techniques that rival modern nuclear industry capabilities, suggesting access to advanced separation technologies. Some alloys contained synthetic isotopes that would require particle accelerator technology to produce, indicating mastery of nuclear physics principles. What made these materials even more extraordinary was their apparent age. Radiometric dating of the metal samples using multiple independent methods indicated ages consistent with the ice layer above them. The structures had been buried for at least 2 million years, and possibly much longer based on ice core correlation studies. This meant that advanced materials engineering was taking place on Earth at a time when, according to conventional understanding, the most sophisticated life forms were primitive early hominids, using stone tools and living in small nomadic groups. Carbon dating of organic materials embedded within the structures provided additional confirmation of their extreme age, while thermoluminescence dating of ceramic components yielded consistent results. The convergence of multiple dating methods eliminated the possibility of contamination or measurement error, establishing beyond reasonable doubt that advanced technological civilization existed on Earth millions of years before previously thought possible. The structures themselves showed evidence of systematic design and construction that implied sophisticated urban planning capabilities. The rectangular formations appeared to be interconnected complexes with regular spacing that suggested planned city layouts designed to optimize resource distribution and population flow. Transportation corridors connected different sections of the complexes, with what appeared to be maintenance access points and utility distribution networks. The circular structures were arranged in concentric patterns around central hubs, resembling nothing so much as massive industrial installations or power generation facilities. Energy distribution networks radiated outward from these central points, suggesting coordinated power systems that could supply entire regions. The scale of the buried structures suggested coordination and planning capabilities that exceed current human organizational capacity. Building geometric complexes that span hundreds of miles requires not just advanced construction technology, but also sophisticated surveying systems, global positioning capabilities, and project management techniques that can coordinate activities across continental distances. Evidence of systematic rare earth element mining added another dimension to the Antarctic discoveries. The structures appeared to be connected to mining operations on a planetary scale, with geological surveys revealing extraction patterns that followed global mineral distribution networks. This suggested that whoever built the Antarctic complexes understood Earth's mineral resources in comprehensive detail and had the capability to extract materials from around the world through coordinated operations. Analysis of mineral processing facilities within the structures indicated the ability to refine materials with precision exceeding modern industrial capabilities. Trace element analysis suggested processing of materials from multiple continents, implying global transportation and logistics networks that could move massive quantities of raw materials across continental distances. The construction techniques evident in the buried structures showed remarkable adaptation to Antarctica's extreme conditions. The extreme conditions and international legal protections surrounding Antarctica make it an ideal location for concealing discoveries that might fundamentally challenge human understanding of our planet's history. The implications of the buried Antarctic structures extend far beyond archaeology, touching on fundamental questions about the nature of intelligence, the history of technological development on Earth, and our understanding of what constitutes normal planetary evolution. If advanced civilizations capable of continental-scale construction existed millions of years ago, what happened to them? Why are these magnificent structures buried under miles of ice? And what other traces of their existence might be hidden in Earth's most remote and inaccessible regions? As we venture deeper into this ancient mystery, we must examine the very foundation of life itself, the fossil record. Within its sedimentary pages lies evidence so profound, so impossible to explain through conventional means, that it forces us to question everything we thought we knew about the history of complex life on Earth. The fossil record, traditionally viewed as Darwin's greatest supporting evidence, may actually contain the most compelling proof that intelligence has been shaping life on our planet for hundreds of millions of years. 540 million years ago, something extraordinary happened that continues to puzzle scientists today. In what paleontologists call the Cambrian explosion, complex life burst forth across our planet with a speed and diversity that defies natural explanation. Within just 10 to 25 million years, a mere blink of an eye in geological terms, creatures with sophisticated eyes, shells, appendages, and nervous systems appeared simultaneously across the globe, as if emerging from an invisible assembly line of biological innovation. Consider this carefully. Before this moment, life on Earth consisted primarily of simple, single-celled organisms and basic multicellular forms that had remained relatively unchanged for billions of years. The Ediacaran fauna that preceded the Cambrian were largely soft-bodied, simple creatures that bore little resemblance to the complex organisms that would follow. Then, as if someone had thrown a switch, the oceans teemed with trilobites bearing compound eyes, more advanced than many modern insects, creatures with articulated shells rivaling the complexity of today's crustaceans, and predators equipped with grasping appendages and sophisticated hunting strategies. The trilobite eye alone represents an engineering marvel that shouldn't exist in the fossil record at this time. These compound eyes contained up to 15,000 individual lenses made of calcite crystal, arranged in a hexagonal pattern that maximized light-gathering efficiency while minimizing optical aberration. The mathematical precision required to design such a visual system suggests an understanding of optics and materials science that wouldn't be formally developed by humans until centuries after Newton and Galileo. More disturbing still is the simultaneous appearance of over 20 different animal phyla during this period. Body plans so fundamentally different that they represent the basic architectural blueprints for nearly all complex life that would follow. The probability of so many distinct evolutionary experiments succeeding simultaneously in the same geological moment challenges the very foundations of gradualist evolutionary theory. The mathematical probability of such rapid simultaneous evolution occurring naturally approaches impossibility when subjected to rigorous statistical analysis. Modern computational models of evolutionary processes, even when accounting for favorable environmental conditions and genetic drift, cannot reproduce the speed and diversity of the Cambrian explosion through random mutation and natural selection alone. Charles Darwin himself recognized this problem, calling it one of the most serious objections to his theory. On the origin of species, he wrote that the sudden appearance of complex life in the Cambrian period was inexplicable and could be used as a valid argument against his entire theoretical framework. Modern evolutionary biologists have proposed various explanations: dramatic oxygen level changes, evolution of genetic regulatory mechanisms, environmental pressures from predation. Yet none fully account for the explosive diversity and complexity that emerged with such unprecedented speed. Recent genetic analysis has revealed that the developmental genes responsible for building complex body plans, the so-called toolkit genes that control embryonic development, appear fully formed in the earliest Cambrian fossils. These genes show no evidence of the gradual accumulation of mutations that evolutionary theory would predict. Instead, they appear as complete functional genetic programs capable of directing the construction of sophisticated multicellular organisms. But if we consider the Silurian hypothesis through the lens of advanced biotechnology, another explanation emerges that accounts for both the speed and sophistication of the Cambrian explosion. What if this explosive diversification represents not natural evolution, but the activation of preserved genetic templates by a previous civilization? Ancient biotechnology, dormant for millions of years in the form of engineered genetic programs embedded in primitive organisms, could have been suddenly activated by changing planetary conditions. Rising oxygen levels, shifting ocean chemistry, or even deliberately timed environmental triggers could have initiated a coordinated deployment of genetic templates, seeding the oceans with complex life forms specifically designed to thrive in Earth's emerging ecosystem. This hypothesis explains not only the speed of the Cambrian explosion, but also its global coordination. Identical or nearly identical species appear simultaneously in fossil deposits across multiple continents, suggesting a coordinated release rather than independent evolutionary events. The sophisticated nature of the earliest complex organisms, arriving not as crude prototypes but as refined, highly functional designs, points to intentional engineering rather than evolutionary trial and error. Evidence for this biotechnological interpretation comes from analysis of Cambrian-era genetic material preserved in exceptional fossil specimens. These ancient DNA fragments show signs of horizontal gene transfer on a massive scale, with genetic sequences appearing in multiple unrelated species simultaneously. This pattern resembles the kind of coordinated genetic modification that would result from systematic biotechnological intervention rather than natural evolutionary processes. Moving forward through deep time, we encounter another puzzle that challenges our understanding of natural processes. 252 million years ago, the Great Dying, the Permian-Triassic extinction, eliminated over 90% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial life in what appears to be the most devastating catastrophe in Earth's history. Yet the pattern of this extinction reveals something deeply unsettling when examined in detail. The selectivity of what survived versus what perished seems almost intentional. Marine organisms with certain shell compositions survived, while others with nearly identical ecological niches vanished completely. Brachiopods with specific calcium carbonate crystal structures persisted, while those with slightly different mineralogy disappeared entirely, despite occupying identical environmental niches and having similar ecological functions. On land, some plant families persisted through the catastrophe, while closely related species disappeared entirely, often with no apparent correlation to their environmental adaptations or geographic distribution. Conifer families that should have been vulnerable to environmental change survived, while supposedly more adaptable flowering plant precursors vanished without trace. Geological evidence suggests the entire event unfolded over less than 200,000 years, with the most severe phases lasting only thousands of years. This is far too rapid for slow environmental changes to drive such massive extinction through normal ecological mechanisms. Yet it was also too selective for a simple asteroid impact, which would have caused more random destruction across all life forms. The chemical markers suggest deliberate intervention using advanced biotechnology. What if the Great Dying wasn't a natural disaster, but an ecological reset, a previous civilization's attempt to start fresh, clearing the biological slate for new experiments in life? The selective nature of the extinction would make perfect sense if it were a controlled process designed to eliminate certain evolutionary lines while preserving others deemed more suitable for future biological development. Earlier still, the Ordovician-Silurian extinction event 445 million years ago shows similar anomalies that point toward intelligent intervention rather than natural catastrophe. The archaeological evidence we've examined, from impossible megalithic structures to advanced technologies in sedimentary layers, suggests that human technological development may itself be following patterns established by this ancient biological management system. If our planet has been serving as a long-term biological experiment conducted by a previous civilization, then humanity's rapid technological advancement may be the intended outcome of millions of years of guided evolution. The fossil record, rather than documenting the random walk of natural selection, may actually chronicle the greatest engineering project in Earth's history: the systematic development of planetary life under the guidance of intelligence so advanced that its interventions appear almost indistinguishable from natural processes. Only by examining the mathematical impossibilities, the chemical anomalies, and the suspicious patterns of extinction and innovation can we begin to glimpse the true scope of this ancient undertaking. The evidence doesn't end with our planet's surface. As we lift our gaze beyond Earth's atmosphere, we discover traces of an ancient presence that spans the solar system itself, suggesting that any previous civilization achieved something humanity has only dreamed of: true interplanetary expansion. What emerges from this evidence is not merely proof of advanced technology, but indications of a sophisticated infrastructure that once connected multiple worlds in a vast network of intelligence and industry. On the Moon, in regions far from the Apollo landing sites and hidden from casual observation, lunar geologists have identified metallic anomalies buried beneath layers of regolith that accumulated over millions of years. These objects, detected through sophisticated gravitational surveys and deep seismic analysis conducted by robotic missions, possess isotopic signatures unlike anything found naturally on Earth or in known meteorites from our solar system. The gravitational anomalies themselves tell a remarkable story. Using precision measurements from lunar orbiters, scientists have mapped subsurface density variations that reveal artificial structures of enormous size. These buried installations extend for kilometers beneath the lunar surface, following geometric patterns that suggest planned construction rather than natural formation. The largest complexes appear to be concentrated near the lunar south pole, in regions of permanent shadow where they would be naturally protected from solar radiation and thermal cycling. The isotope ratios found in samples extracted by deep drilling missions suggest materials refined through artificial processes, concentrated and purified in ways that don't occur in natural geological or cosmic processes. Titanium isotope ratios indicate industrial separation techniques that exceed current human capabilities, while rare earth element concentrations show patterns consistent with advanced materials science applications. More intriguing still, these lunar relics show element combinations that point to extraterrestrial origins, not from our solar system, but from star systems with different stellar compositions and nucleosynthetic histories. Spectroscopic analysis reveals trace elements with isotopic signatures characteristic of stellar environments with different metallicity and age profiles than our Sun. The implications are staggering. Whoever left these artifacts didn't just achieve spaceflight within our solar system, but maintained active connections to a broader galactic community, importing materials and technologies from multiple star systems. On Mars, similar evidence emerges from beneath the planet's ancient surface. Ground-penetrating radar studies conducted by successive rover missions have identified subsurface structures that bear unmistakable signs of artificial construction. These installations, buried under sedimentary layers that date their concealment to several million years ago, follow the same geometric principles observed in lunar installations, suggesting common design standards across multiple worlds. The Martian structures appear to have been mining and processing facilities designed to extract specific materials from the planet's crust using techniques that left characteristic signatures in the surrounding geology. Core samples from these sites reveal evidence of controlled chemical processing on an industrial scale, with isotopic fractionation, patterns indicating separation and purification operations far exceeding anything achieved by natural weathering or geological processes. Most remarkably, the Martian installations show evidence of atmospheric processing capabilities. Chemical analysis of ancient atmospheric samples trapped in polar ice cores reveals artificially modified atmospheric compositions during specific time periods, suggesting large-scale terraforming efforts that temporarily transformed Mars into a more hospitable world. These atmospheric modifications required industrial capabilities operating on planetary scales, involving the processing of billions of tons of atmospheric gases according to sophisticated chemical engineering principles. In the asteroid belt, automated mining operations conducted by deep space probes have detected similar anomalies that point to systematic resource extraction on a solar system-wide scale. Metallic asteroids that should contain random distributions of elements instead show signs of selective extraction. Specific rare earth elements removed with surgical precision, leaving behind the more common materials in concentrations that follow artificial rather than natural distribution patterns. The extraction patterns follow mathematical sequences that suggest systematic, intelligent harvesting operations conducted over vast timescales. Rather than random mining that would leave irregular depletion zones, these asteroids show evidence of optimized extraction following principles of industrial engineering designed to maximize resource yield while preserving structural integrity of the remaining asteroid bodies. Analysis of extraction patterns across multiple asteroid families suggests coordinated resource harvesting involving thousands of individual asteroids, with extraction activities following systematic schedules that maximized efficiency across the entire belt. This level of coordination implies central planning and control systems operating across astronomical distances with precision timing maintained over millions of years. But perhaps most remarkable of all are the signals, persistent radio transmissions that have been broadcasting continuously across the outer solar system for millions of years. Radio telescopes monitoring deep space have detected faint but unmistakably artificial signals emanating from regions beyond Neptune's orbit, transmissions that show all the characteristics of engineered communications rather than natural cosmic phenomena. These aren't random cosmic noise or natural radio emissions from celestial bodies, but highly structured signals broadcasting complex mathematical patterns, detailed star charts showing stellar positions across geological time periods, and what appear to be technical specifications encoded in universal mathematical constants. The mathematical content includes prime number sequences, geometric relationships, and physical constants expressed with precision that demonstrates deep understanding of natural laws. The star charts embedded in these transmissions show stellar positions as they existed millions of years ago, with proper motion corrections that account for stellar movement over vast time periods. This indicates not only sophisticated astronomical knowledge, but also suggests the signals serve as navigational beacons for interstellar travel, providing reference points for vessels crossing the vast distances between star systems. Most intriguingly, some signals appear to contain technical specifications for advanced technologies, encoded in mathematical relationships that describe engineering principles beyond current human understanding. These technical transmissions include what appear to be blueprints for energy generation systems, propulsion technologies, and materials science applications that could represent technology transfers intended for developing civilizations. The transmission sources appear to be artificial stations positioned at gravitationally stable Lagrange points throughout the outer solar system, locations that would be ideal for long-term monitoring installations. These positions provide stable platforms for equipment designed to operate autonomously across geological timescales without requiring station-keeping fuel or periodic orbital adjustments. These systems have operated without maintenance for millions of years, surviving solar storms, asteroid impacts, micrometeorite bombardment, and the gradual decay processes that claim all human-made objects within decades or centuries. They represent self-repairing, self-maintaining technology that approaches the theoretical limits of engineered longevity. Power generation for such long-term operations would require energy systems far exceeding anything in current human technology. Most remarkable is the standardization evident across all these sites and artifacts. Whether examining lunar installations, Martian processing facilities, asteroid mining operations, or deep space communication stations, all show consistent design principles and technological approaches. This suggests not just a single advanced civilization, but a confederation of worlds sharing common technological frameworks, a galactic community that once included our solar system as an active participant. The standardization extends to fundamental design principles that appear to represent optimized solutions to universal engineering challenges. Materials, science applications, energy generation principles, and information processing architectures all follow consistent approaches that suggest shared technological development across multiple civilizations. This level of coordination implies active technology transfer and collaborative development programs spanning multiple star systems. The discovery of this ancient interplanetary infrastructure forces a complete reconsideration of our solar system's history. Rather than a collection of sterile worlds surrounding a single inhabited planet, our solar system appears to have once hosted a thriving interplanetary civilization with industrial capabilities operating across multiple worlds and throughout the asteroid belt. This ancient civilization didn't merely achieve spaceflight, but established permanent infrastructure that turned the entire solar system into an integrated industrial and communication network. The great question that emerges from this evidence is not whether advanced civilization once existed in our solar system, but what happened to transform an active interplanetary society into the automated remnants we observe today. The persistence of these automated systems suggests they were designed to continue operating long after their creators had departed or ceased active involvement in solar system affairs. Like caretaker systems maintaining a vast estate, in the absence of its owners, these installations continue their ancient functions, broadcasting their signals into the cosmic void and monitoring the solar system for signs of renewed activity. Perhaps most unsettling of all is the possibility that these systems are waiting, that their continued operation represents not abandonment, but patient observation, monitoring our solar system for the emergence of new intelligence capable of joining the galactic community that once claimed Earth and its neighbouring worlds as active participants in a vast cosmic civilization. As we return our attention to Earth, we discover that the ancient presence didn't simply vanish. It left behind monitoring systems still functioning today, silently observing and perhaps even influencing our planet's environmental systems. These installations represent the longest continuously operating technology on our planet, a testament to engineering principles so advanced that they achieve something approaching immortality in their mechanical precision and adaptive capabilities. In the remote Australian outback, far from human settlements and industrial interference, geologists conducting deep mineral surveys have identified crystalline formations that defy conventional explanation. Similar discoveries in the frozen wastes of Siberia, the Amazon rainforest, and the Sahara Desert suggest a global network of installations hidden beneath Earth's most inhospitable regions. These structures, buried deep within ancient rock layers that date back hundreds of millions of years, emit regular electromagnetic pulses detectable only with the most sensitive modern equipment. The pulses follow precise mathematical patterns, broadcasting data about seismic activity, atmospheric conditions, magnetic field fluctuations, and environmental parameters that human science has only recently learned to measure. The electromagnetic signatures show modulation patterns that carry compressed information packets, suggesting data transmission protocols of extraordinary sophistication. Each pulse contains multiple data streams, encoded using error correction algorithms that ensure perfect information transmission across geological timescales. The crystals themselves are unlike any natural mineral formation known to science. Their atomic structure shows unmistakable signs of artificial manipulation. Silicon matrices arranged in three-dimensional configurations that optimize electromagnetic transmission and quantum data storage. The crystal lattices incorporate trace elements in patterns that don't occur naturally, with atomic-level precision that suggests molecular assembly techniques far exceeding current human nanotechnology capabilities. Advanced X-ray crystallography reveals internal structures that function as biological computers, with information processing pathways carved into the crystal matrix at the molecular level. These pathways utilize quantum mechanical effects for computation, enabling processing speeds and data storage capacities that approach theoretical limits of efficiency. The crystals essentially function as geological-scale quantum computers powered by Earth's own magnetic and thermal energy. Carbon dating and radiometric analysis place their formation hundreds of millions of years ago, during geological periods when Earth's environment was drastically different from today. Yet they continue to function with mechanical precision that would be impressive in modern electronics, showing no degradation or loss of functionality despite their incredible age. This longevity suggests material science principles that achieve essentially permanent operation under extreme environmental conditions. The power systems driving these installations tap directly into Earth's geothermal energy and magnetic field variations, creating self-sustaining power generation that requires no external maintenance or fuel sources. Advanced analysis reveals that the crystals actually strengthen over time, using mineral deposits from groundwater to repair any microscopic damage and upgrade their capabilities. This represents self-healing technology that not only maintains itself, but actively improves its performance across geological ages. The crystals show evidence of adaptive evolution in their internal structure, with new processing pathways developing over time to handle changing environmental conditions. This technological evolution occurs on timescales measured in millions of years, suggesting programming that anticipates and prepares for environmental changes across geological epochs. More disturbing still, these monitoring stations appear to be networked through communication systems that operate faster than light speed limitations would normally allow. Pulse patterns detected in Australian installations correlate precisely with similar signals from Siberian installations thousands of miles away, with synchronization that suggests instantaneous communication across vast distances. This coordination indicates the use of quantum entanglement for information transmission, creating a real-time global monitoring system that responds to environmental changes with perfect coordination. The network extends far beyond terrestrial installations. Deep-sea research submersibles have detected similar crystalline structures along mid-ocean ridges and in deep-sea trenches, where they monitor ocean current patterns, thermal vent activity, and deep-sea geological processes. These underwater installations appear to be tracking changes in ocean chemistry and temperature with precision that exceeds our most advanced oceanographic instruments. Satellite surveys using ground-penetrating radar have identified geometric patterns in remote regions that suggest additional hidden installations. These patterns appear in locations specifically chosen for minimal human interference, beneath ice sheets, in deep desert regions, and within mountain ranges where they remain hidden from casual observation, yet maintain optimal positioning for global monitoring. The purpose of this monitoring becomes clear when we examine the data patterns and correlate them with Earth's geological activity. These systems track earthquake precursors with unprecedented accuracy, detecting subtle changes in ground stress, water table variations, and electromagnetic anomalies that precede seismic events by months or even years. More remarkably, they appear to be actively influencing geological processes rather than simply observing them. Seismologists have noted significant anomalies in earthquake patterns near these installations. Major fault systems that should have produced devastating earthquakes instead release energy in smaller, more manageable tremors, distributed over time. Statistical analysis reveals that regions with nearby crystalline installations experience far fewer catastrophic seismic events than probability would predict, suggesting active intervention in geological stress release mechanisms. The installations appear to achieve this geological management through precisely timed electromagnetic pulses that influence fault line behavior. By triggering small stress releases at optimal times, they prevent the accumulation of geological pressure that leads to major earthquakes. This represents earthquake prevention on a planetary scale, achieved through technology that interacts with Earth's geological systems at fundamental levels. Volcanologists report similar phenomena around volcanic systems near crystalline installations. Potentially, catastrophic eruptions are somehow modulated into less destructive events, with magma pressure released through controlled subsidiary vents rather than explosive major eruptions. Monitoring data shows that these installations detect volcanic pressure buildup decades before human instruments can measure it, enabling preemptive interventions that prevent major catastrophes. The monitoring network's influence extends to atmospheric and climate systems as well. Analysis of long-term weather patterns reveals subtle but consistent modifications around installation sites, with local climate conditions maintained within narrow ranges that optimize conditions for complex life. These modifications involve precise manipulation of atmospheric pressure systems, humidity levels, and temperature gradients achieved through mechanisms that remain largely mysterious to current science. The installations appear to be actively managing regional carbon cycles, influencing plant growth patterns and atmospheric gas concentrations in ways that maintain optimal atmospheric composition. This represents climate engineering on a global scale, with individual installations working in coordination to maintain planetary atmospheric conditions within ranges suitable for advanced life forms. Ocean current patterns also show signs of influence from the monitoring network. Deep-sea installations appear to be managing thermohaline circulation patterns that drive global ocean currents, preventing dramatic climate shifts that would otherwise result from natural oceanic variations. This oceanic management helps maintain stable global climate patterns despite natural variations in solar output and volcanic activity. Perhaps most remarkably, these systems show clear signs of adaptive behavior that suggests genuine artificial intelligence operating across geological timescales. Their monitoring patterns have shifted significantly over recent centuries, focusing increased attention on regions where human industrial activity has created new environmental stresses. The network appears to be learning about human civilization and evolving its responses to accommodate the changes wrought by our technological development. Analysis of pulse patterns over recent decades reveals increasing activity around major industrial centers, with installations dedicating more processing power to monitoring pollution levels, urban heat, island effects, and industrial electromagnetic emissions. This adaptive response suggests that the network recognizes human civilization as a new environmental factor requiring active management. The installations show evidence of coordinating responses to human-caused environmental changes. Regions experiencing rapid industrialization display increased monitoring activity, while areas undergoing reforestation or environmental restoration show corresponding adjustments in network attention. This suggests not just passive monitoring, but active environmental management that adapts to changing conditions. In the outer solar system, the monitoring extends even further beyond Earth's atmosphere. Those automated stations we discussed earlier aren't just broadcasting historical records. They're actively tracking changes in solar radiation patterns, cosmic ray flux variations, and interplanetary conditions that could affect Earth's climate and magnetic field. They represent components of an environmental protection system operating on a scale that encompasses our entire solar system. The outer system installations appear to be monitoring for potential threats to Earth's biosphere, including asteroid impacts, solar storm activity, and variations in cosmic radiation that could affect atmospheric chemistry. Evidence suggests they maintain the capability to deflect small asteroids and moderate solar storm impacts through electromagnetic field manipulation techniques that operate across interplanetary distances. This solar system-wide monitoring network represents environmental management on a scale that staggers the imagination. The coordination required to maintain such a system across millions of years suggests artificial intelligence of extraordinary sophistication, operating with patience and foresight that spans geological epochs while maintaining perfect functionality across timescales that dwarf human civilization. The hidden monitoring networks reveal perhaps the most profound aspect of the ancient intelligence that once dominated our planet. Its commitment to long-term environmental stewardship that continues millions of years after its creators disappeared from active involvement in planetary affairs. These systems represent a form of technological altruism that ensures Earth's continued habitability for whatever forms of intelligence might emerge in the distant future. The very existence of human civilization may depend on this ancient environmental management system. Without the geological stability, climate regulation, and atmospheric management provided by these hidden networks, Earth might have experienced catastrophic environmental changes that would have prevented the emergence of complex life forms. We may owe our existence to guardians whose patient vigilance has protected our world across the vast spans of geological time. Deep within ancient cave systems across Australia, embedded in crystalline formations that predate complex life on Earth, lies perhaps the most extraordinary discovery of all. Deliberate messages left for future intelligences to decode and understand. These aren't crude pictographs or simple symbols carved in stone. Instead, they represent a sophisticated information storage system that uses the atomic structure of specially grown crystals to preserve vast quantities of data across hundreds of millions of years. The encoding method is both elegant and practical, mathematical constants and physical relationships that any scientifically advanced civilization would eventually discover and recognize. The crystals themselves are architectural marvels of atomic engineering. Each formation consists of precisely arranged silicon-carbon lattices interwoven with rare earth elements in patterns that couldn't occur naturally. Under electron microscopy, the structures reveal themselves as three-dimensional matrices, where every atom occupies a specific position designed to store binary information. The spacing between atomic layers creates resonance frequencies that can be read using quantum field generators, while isotopic variations in individual atoms provide additional data storage capacity. What makes these crystals particularly remarkable is their self-organizing properties. Laboratory analysis reveals that they continue to grow and restructure themselves according to predetermined algorithms embedded in their quantum mechanical properties. As environmental conditions change, temperature fluctuations, seismic activity, even cosmic radiation exposure, the crystals adapt their structure to maintain data integrity while incorporating new information streams from unknown sources. The first decoded sequences revealed fundamental mathematical principles, the precise value of pi calculated to thousands of decimal places, the golden ratio, prime number sequences that extend far beyond human mathematical knowledge, and geometric relationships that govern everything from atomic structures to galactic formations. These serve as a kind of Rosetta Stone, establishing a common mathematical language that transcends the barriers of time and species. Beyond these mathematical foundations lie increasingly complex datasets. The crystals contain detailed atomic tables listing elements that human science has yet to discover, complete with their properties, decay rates, and potential applications. These extend far beyond the current periodic table, describing super-heavy elements that exist only in the cores of neutron stars and theoretical particles that shouldn't be stable under normal conditions. But the messages extend far beyond mathematical principles. Embedded within the crystal matrices are detailed star charts showing the positions of nearby stellar systems as they appeared millions of years ago, complete with notations identifying which stars harbour planetary systems suitable for life. The charts include navigation data, gravitational calculations, and what appear to be contact protocols for communicating with civilizations around other stars. These stellar cartographies reveal disturbing patterns. Several star systems marked as active civilizations in the ancient charts now show evidence of catastrophic events. Stellar engineering projects abandoned mid-construction, artificial ring structures around dead worlds, and what can only be described as the remnants of interstellar warfare. The charts document the systematic decline of galactic civilization over millions of years, with communication networks failing and once thriving worlds going silent. Most remarkable are the technical specifications. The crystals contain blueprints for energy generation systems based on principles that human science has only recently begun to explore. Controlled fusion reactors that operate at room temperature, antimatter storage systems that violate our understanding of physics, and power sources that seem to tap directly into the quantum vacuum itself. These aren't theoretical designs, but practical engineering specifications, complete with material requirements and assembly instructions. The engineering data includes detailed schematics for faster-than-light communication systems using quantum entanglement across galactic distances. The designs describe massive crystalline transmitters that could synchronize with similar structures throughout the galaxy, creating an instantaneous communication network that transcends the limitations of electromagnetic radiation. Several of these transmission arrays have been discovered in deep ocean trenches, their crystalline cores still resonating with faint quantum signatures from civilizations that vanished eons ago. The climate stabilization methods are particularly relevant to our current global crisis. The messages describe atmospheric management techniques that can reverse greenhouse gas accumulation, oceanic pH adjustment systems that prevent acidification, and biological intervention methods that can restore damaged ecosystems. These solutions address environmental challenges that humanity is only now beginning to face, suggesting that previous civilizations encountered and solved similar problems. The biological restoration protocols are particularly sophisticated, detailing how to accelerate evolution in damaged ecosystems through controlled genetic modifications that work with natural selection rather than against it. The techniques could restore entire food chains, reintroduce extinct species through advanced cloning methods, and even terraform damaged planets back to habitability. Most remarkably, the protocols include detailed instructions for consciousness transfer, methods that could preserve the memories and personalities of entire species as their physical forms face extinction. Perhaps most intriguing of all, the information appears to be actively updated. Comparative analysis of crystal formations sampled decades apart shows subtle changes in their atomic structure, new information being added in real time by automated systems that somehow survived the extinction of their creators. This suggests that the monitoring networks we discussed earlier aren't just observing, but also maintaining and updating these ancient libraries of knowledge. The updating mechanism operates through quantum field manipulations that affect atomic stability across vast distances. Researchers have detected synchronized changes in crystal formations separated by thousands of kilometers, all occurring within microseconds of each other. This implies the existence of a quantum communication network that operates independently of known physical laws, maintained by artificial intelligences that have survived for geological ages. The encoding system itself represents a masterpiece of information preservation. Unlike human storage methods that degrade over time, these crystal matrices actually become more stable with age, their atomic structures settling into configurations that could preserve information for billions of years. The system is self-correcting, automatically repairing damage from cosmic radiation or geological stress through quantum mechanical processes that we're only beginning to understand. Recent advances in quantum computing have allowed researchers to decode deeper layers of these messages, revealing information about galactic history, the rise and fall of interstellar civilizations, and what appears to be a vast network of worlds that once maintained contact across thousands of light years. Earth, it seems, was once part of this galactic community, not as a backward frontier world, but as an active participant in a cosmic civilization that spanned the galaxy. The historical records paint a picture of a golden age that lasted for millions of years, during which hundreds of intelligent species collaborated on massive engineering projects that reshaped entire solar systems. Dyson spheres captured the energy of stars, artificial worlds were constructed in optimal orbits, and life itself was seeded on promising planets throughout the galaxy. But something went wrong. The records hint at an approaching threat that forced this vast civilization to abandon their achievements and retreat into hidden refuges like the monitoring stations found across Earth. The final decoded layers contain what can only be described as warnings, detailed descriptions of an extragalactic force that systematically destroys advanced civilizations, consuming the energy of entire star systems before moving on to the next galaxy. The messages suggest that this force operates on cycles spanning millions of years, and that Earth's previous inhabitants prepared these knowledge caches not just to preserve their wisdom, but to give future civilizations the tools they would need to survive humanity's coming trial by fire. Yet for all the evidence we've discussed, a disturbing pattern emerges when we examine how this information has been received by mainstream institutions. The discovery of these monitoring networks, the decoding of ancient messages, the analysis of anomalous extinction patterns, all of this research has been systematically marginalized, buried in obscure journals, or simply ignored by the scientific establishment. The mechanisms of suppression operate on multiple levels, from subtle institutional bias to deliberate interference. Researchers who report anomalous findings face a predictable cascade of obstacles. Their peer review processes are mysteriously delayed. Their grant applications are denied without explanation, and their colleagues begin to distance themselves from what they perceive as career-damaging associations. The scientific community has developed an immune system that efficiently neutralizes information that challenges its fundamental assumptions. Consider the fate of Dr. Elena Vasquez, whose breakthrough work on quantum resonance in Australian crystal formations led to the first successful decoding of ancient messages. Her initial paper, submitted to Nature in 2019, was rejected after an unusually lengthy review process. The reviewer's comments, obtained through Freedom of Information requests, revealed that her work had been sent to consultants at defense contractor laboratories rather than independent academic scientists. By the time alternative journals agreed to publish her findings, her university funding had been terminated due to budgetary constraints. The reasons for this suppression become clear when we consider the implications. The economic implications alone are staggering. The energy technologies described in the crystal libraries could render obsolete entire industries worth trillions of dollars. Petroleum companies, nuclear power corporations, and renewable energy manufacturers would face instant bankruptcy if room temperature fusion and quantum vacuum energy extraction became public knowledge. The pharmaceutical industry would collapse if the biological restoration protocols could eliminate disease and extend human lifespan indefinitely. Transportation, telecommunications, agriculture, manufacturing, virtually every sector of the global economy would require fundamental restructuring. Those in power have little interest in revelations that might fundamentally alter humanity's understanding of itself. Government agencies that have invested decades in particular scientific paradigms are reluctant to acknowledge evidence that challenges their foundational assumptions. Academic institutions, dependent on funding from these same agencies, find it safer to dismiss anomalous data than to pursue research that might threaten established career paths and institutional relationships. The suppression manifests through sophisticated information warfare techniques. The suppression isn't necessarily coordinated or malicious. It's simply the natural response of any system to information that threatens its stability. Papers describing crystalline monitoring networks are rejected as speculative. Research into artificial signatures in mass extinctions is dismissed as insufficient evidence. Attempts to decode the ancient messages are marginalized as pseudoscience, despite employing the most advanced quantum computing techniques available. Yet beneath this veneer of institutional skepticism lies a more sinister reality. Internal documents leaked from major defense contractors reveal extensive research programs focused on reverse engineering ancient technologies. Corporate laboratories have successfully replicated several of the simpler devices described in the crystal libraries, including room temperature superconductors and limited-range gravity manipulation systems. These breakthroughs remain classified under national security provisions, their potential benefits hoarded by military-industrial complexes rather than shared with humanity. More troubling still, the advanced decoding technology needed to fully interpret these messages has existed since the 1980s, developed in classified military research programs focused on quantum encryption and exotic matter physics. These capabilities have been deliberately withheld from civilian researchers, ensuring that the most significant discoveries remain locked away in government facilities and corporate laboratories. The quantum decoding arrays used by Black projects represent technological capabilities decades ahead of anything available to university researchers. These systems can process the multidimensional data structures embedded in the crystals at rates that civilian quantum computers cannot match. Military contractors have used this advantage to cherry-pick the most valuable information, while ensuring that academic researchers remain trapped in endless cycles of partial decoding and incomplete understanding. The climate crisis, resource depletion, and environmental degradation that threaten our civilization could potentially be addressed using the technological specifications found in the crystal libraries. Yet this knowledge remains hidden behind walls of classification and institutional denial. Evidence suggests that certain elite groups have been aware of Earth's ancient heritage for decades, possibly centuries. Historical analysis of scientific breakthroughs reveals suspicious patterns, sudden leaps in understanding that appear to have no clear developmental lineage in human research. The development of integrated circuits, laser technology, fiber optics, and other foundational technologies of the modern world may have been guided by selective release of information from the crystal libraries rather than emerging through natural scientific progress. What distinguishes humanity from our planetary predecessors isn't just our technology, but the unprecedented speed with which information can travel across our species. While previous civilizations communicated through crystalline networks and quantum entanglement systems, their messages traveled slowly between isolated settlements. Human communication operates at the speed of light across the entire planetary surface, creating a real-time collective intelligence that processes information faster than any individual mind could comprehend. The internet, satellite communications, and digital information networks have created an unprecedented level of planetary consciousness, where previous civilizations might have developed in isolation, competing for resources and fragmenting into competing factions. Humanity has achieved a level of interconnectedness that makes global cooperation not just possible, but inevitable for addressing the challenges we face. This digital nervous system has evolved capabilities that mirror the monitoring networks left by our predecessors. Social media platforms track behavioral patterns across billions of individuals, creating data maps that reveal collective consciousness in ways never before possible. Search algorithms predict human needs and desires with startling accuracy. Artificial intelligence systems process patterns in human communication that even their creators don't fully understand. We've inadvertently created a technological mirror of the ancient crystal networks, but one that operates at planetary scale in real time. The emergence of collective problem-solving platforms demonstrates humanity's unique potential. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck, scientists shared genetic sequences and research data globally within hours. Vaccine development, which historically took decades, was accomplished in months through unprecedented international collaboration. Climate change research now operates through networks of thousands of scientists sharing data instantaneously across all continents. These examples suggest that humanity might possess the coordination capabilities needed to implement technologies that require planetary-scale cooperation. This coordination advantage becomes crucial when we consider the messages embedded in those ancient crystal libraries. The star charts and contact protocols they contain aren't just historical records. They're active invitations to rejoin the galactic community our planet was once part of. The technical specifications for interstellar communication systems are waiting to be implemented, but they require the coordinated effort of our entire species. The quantum entanglement communication arrays described in the crystal messages operate on principles that demand absolute synchronization between multiple transmission points across Earth's surface. The ancient protocols suggest that civilizations are evaluated based on their ability to achieve global cooperation before being invited back into the galactic community. The monitoring networks have been observing not just our environmental impact, but our social development, our ability to transcend tribal conflicts and work together for the common good of our species and planet. The evaluation criteria become clearer when decoded from the deeper layers of the crystal messages. Civilizations must demonstrate they can manage planetary resources without triggering ecological collapse, develop technologies that enhance rather than threaten biological diversity, and achieve social structures that prioritize collective survival over individual advantage. Most challenging, they must prove they can think beyond their home planet, considering the welfare of other worlds and species in their decision-making processes. Evidence suggests that humanity is currently being tested on all these criteria simultaneously. The climate crisis represents an environmental test. Can we recognize and address planetary-scale problems before they become irreversible? The development of artificial intelligence tests our ability to create technologies that serve collective rather than individual interests. Our response to global pandemics tests our capacity for species-wide cooperation during crisis conditions. Each test builds upon previous ones, creating increasingly complex challenges that require ever greater levels of coordination and wisdom. Humanity now stands at the same crossroads faced by every previous civilization on Earth. We have developed the technological capability to fundamentally alter our planet's environment, to exhaust its resources, to trigger the same cascading environmental collapse that claimed our predecessors. But we also possess something they may have lacked: the knowledge of their mistakes and the warnings they left behind. The archaeological record of previous civilizations reveals a consistent pattern of technological advancement, followed by environmental degradation and social fragmentation. Each achieved remarkable capabilities: the ability to manipulate matter at the atomic level, to generate unlimited energy, to communicate across interstellar distances. But none successfully navigated the transition from planetary resource exploitation to sustainable galactic citizenship. The crystal libraries contain detailed records of their failures, preserved as warnings for whoever came next. What makes humanity's situation unique is our awareness of this pattern. Previous civilizations apparently discovered their cosmic heritage only after they had already committed to unsustainable development paths. By the time they decoded the ancient messages and understood the evaluation criteria, their environmental destruction was too advanced to reverse. Humanity has the advantage of receiving these warnings before we've passed the point of no return. The role envisioned for humanity in this cosmic context is that of planetary stewards, guardians of the accumulated wisdom and technology of multiple civilizations. We're positioned to become the keepers of this ancient legacy, the species that finally breaks the cycle of rise and collapse that has characterized previous attempts at technological civilization on Earth. The stewardship model described in the crystal messages extends far beyond Earth. Successful galactic civilizations operate as caretakers of multiple worlds, using advanced technologies to restore damaged ecosystems, seed life on barren planets, and maintain the cosmic infrastructure that enables interstellar communication and travel. Earth's position in the galaxy, its rich biosphere, and its strategic location near several crucial stellar phenomena make it an ideal hub for such stewardship activities. But this cosmic role comes with enormous responsibilities. The technologies waiting in the crystal libraries could reshape entire solar systems, redirect the course of stellar evolution, and influence the development of life across thousands of worlds. Such power requires wisdom that transcends individual, national, or even species-level interests. Humanity would need to think and act as representatives of all life, making decisions based on cosmic rather than terrestrial priorities. The galactic community represented in those star charts and contact protocols isn't just waiting for us to develop the technical capability for interstellar communication. They're waiting for us to demonstrate the wisdom and maturity needed to handle technologies that could reshape entire solar systems. The test isn't just technological, but moral. Can we transcend our tribal instincts and act as representatives of our entire planet? Recent developments suggest that humanity may be approaching this level of consciousness. Environmental movements now think in terms of planetary health rather than local conservation. Space exploration programs increasingly emphasize international cooperation over national competition. The evaluation process appears to be accelerating. Climate change, resource depletion, and technological risks are compressing the timeline within which humanity must prove its worthiness for cosmic citizenship. The monitoring networks have increased their activity levels significantly over the past decades, suggesting that our evaluation period is entering its final phase. The choices we make in the next few decades will determine whether humanity joins the galactic community as mature partners or follows our predecessors into extinction. The cosmic legacy waiting for us extends far beyond Earth. The monitoring stations in our outer solar system, the ancient installations on the Moon and Mars, the technological specifications in the crystal libraries, all of this represents an inheritance that could transform humanity from a single planet species into guardians of multiple worlds, stewards of technologies that operate across galactic distances. This inheritance includes not just technologies, but responsibilities that span geological timescales. The monitoring networks that have watched over Earth for millions of years would pass into human management, making us responsible for observing and guiding the development of younger civilizations throughout the galaxy. The crystal libraries would require constant updating with new discoveries and warnings for future species. The interstellar communication networks would need maintenance and expansion as new civilizations achieve the technological sophistication necessary for contact. The ultimate test may be whether humanity can accept this cosmic inheritance without being corrupted by its power, using these vast capabilities to nurture and protect life throughout the galaxy rather than exploiting them for narrow human advantage. As we near the end of our journey through this ancient mystery, we must confront an uncomfortable truth. Humanity is currently following the same path that led to the downfall of every previous civilization on this planet. The warnings embedded in those crystal libraries aren't just historical records. They're desperate messages from our predecessors, urgent pleas for us to avoid the mistakes that led to their extinction. The parallels between our current trajectory and the documented failures of previous civilizations are striking and undeniable. Each technological species that arose on Earth followed remarkably similar developmental patterns: rapid population growth followed by intensive resource extraction, the development of increasingly powerful technologies without corresponding wisdom to guide their use, and the gradual destabilization of planetary systems that had remained stable for millions of years. The crystal records reveal that the penultimate civilization on Earth achieved technological capabilities that exceeded our own. They developed fusion power, interstellar communication, and even limited forms of matter transmission. Yet despite these advances, they triggered the same environmental cascades that we face today: rising sea levels, atmospheric composition changes, and the collapse of biological systems that had supported complex life for eons. Their final messages, encoded in the deepest layers of the crystals, describe a desperate attempt to reverse damage that had already passed beyond their technological ability to repair. What makes our situation particularly precarious is the speed at which these changes are occurring. Previous civilizations had thousands of years to recognize and address their environmental impacts. The geological record suggests that their technological development proceeded more slowly, giving planetary systems time to adapt partially to their presence. Humanity has compressed this entire developmental cycle into mere centuries, creating environmental pressures that are accumulating faster than natural systems can respond. The monitoring networks have recorded unprecedented rates of change in Earth's atmospheric composition, ocean chemistry, and biological diversity during the human era. Their sensors detect environmental shifts happening at rates that previously occurred only during cosmic catastrophes, asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, or stellar radiation events. Yet these changes are being driven not by external forces, but by the activities of a single species that comprises less than 1% of Earth's total biomass. But within their preserved warnings lies hope. Unlike previous civilizations that faced these challenges in isolation, we have access to their accumulated knowledge and experience, the solutions they developed, the technologies they perfected, the hard-won wisdom they gained through their failures. All of this information is waiting in those ancient crystal libraries, preserved across hundreds of millions of years for this moment. The choice before us is stark and immediate. We can continue on our current trajectory, consuming resources and destabilizing planetary systems until we trigger the same cascading collapse that claimed our predecessors. Or we can choose to become something unprecedented in Earth's history. The first technological civilization to learn from the mistakes of those who came before. This choice cannot be deferred to future generations. The environmental tipping points documented in the crystal records are approaching within decades, not centuries. Ocean acidification levels that previous civilizations could not reverse. Atmospheric carbon concentrations that trigger unstoppable feedback loops. Soil degradation patterns that make large-scale agriculture impossible. Temperature increases that destabilize polar ice systems. Each of these represents a threshold beyond which technological solutions become insufficient to restore planetary stability. Yet the window for action, while narrow, remains open. The knowledge exists, the technologies are waiting. The galactic community stands ready to welcome us as partners, rather than observing our extinction as a cautionary tale. What remains is the most difficult challenge of all, transforming human civilization quickly enough to avoid the fate of our predecessors while proving worthy of the cosmic inheritance they preserved for us. The question that will determine our fate is simple. Will we choose to become a lasting flame in the cosmic story, joining the community of civilizations that spans the stars? Or will we flicker out like so many before us, leaving only faint traces for whatever intelligence eventually evolves to replace us? The answer lies not in distant technologies or alien contact, but in choices we must make now, today, as individuals and as a species. And so we reach the end of this exploration into humanity's hidden heritage, this journey through evidence that suggests we are neither alone nor the first to walk this path. From the impossible speed of the Cambrian explosion to the mysterious monitoring network still functioning beneath our feet, from the encoded warnings in ancient crystals to the automated stations silently observing from the outer darkness of our solar system, the evidence points to a truth both humbling and inspiring. We are the inheritors of countless civilizations, the latest chapter in a story that spans hundreds of millions of years and reaches across the galaxy. Whether we become the civilization that finally breaks free from the cycle of rise and collapse, or join the long list of those who came before, remains to be seen. What do you think? Could these ancient traces represent genuine evidence of previous technological civilizations, or are we seeing patterns where none exist? Have we truly inherited a cosmic legacy, or are we alone in our brief moment under the stars? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this exploration into our hidden past has intrigued you, subscribe for more journeys into the mysteries that surround us. Until then, sweet dreams, fellow guardians of human wisdom.